Welcome to the Basket Buzz edition of the Athletic NBA Show. I'm filling in for Zach Harper. I'm Dave DeFore, joined by my man Trevon Edwards. We got Jay King, our Celtics beat writer over at the Athletic, and my partner in crime from Nerder. She wrote, Mr. Mo DeKeel. What's up, fellas? Thanks for hanging out so early in the morning for you guys.
What's up? It's been a while. I've missed you guys.
Yeah, this summer's been, we've all been kind of spread to the far corners of the earth. I think Zach is he may be on a plane right now. I don't even know. I know that the dog is safely tucked away with family members while Zach embarks on a much needed and well-earned vacation from the summer grind. And guys, like you, I've been staying up until the early hours of the morning to keep my eyes on Team USA and Team Canada in the World Cup. And we've seen 4 games from both of these teams. And Montenegro did give Team USA a little bit of trouble. And Canada has had, little struggles here and there, but not much as they finished, their opening group plus 111 in point differential. So these two teams, I would say they look like the favorites that they are meant to be through 4 games. We haven't seen game 5 yet in the initial group play, but we assume that they're going to dominate and roll through into the quarters. And I've been really, really impressed with both teams. Number one, for Team USA, this is not the team that qualified. These guys hadn't played together, and we've watched them over the course of the last month develop chemistry, and they've made lineup changes. Josh Hart stepping into the starting lineup for Brandon Ingram, who struggled a little bit, I think finding a rhythm with these guys. I just want to kind of go around real quick. What stood out to you guys with either Team USA or Team Canada just in the month that we've kind of, known these teams?
The Austin Reeves piece and Anthony Edwards piece for Team USA has stood out most to me. Edwards, like we saw him this past year. We've seen him for a couple of years now just begin to take the leap, and he seems to be just coming into his own. When Steve Kerr went out of his way to say that's the guy on this team, a team that also has Bridges and Brunson and a lot of very good players, kind of eye-opening. And I just think his ascension changes the way I view the Timberwolves, quite frankly, in the Western Conference, because, we didn't really get to see them much last year because Towns was out for a long time. At the beginning of the season, they didn't know what the heck to do with Towns and Gobert, and I still think that's a clunky, awkward pairing. But if Anthony Edwards can become one of the very best players in the league, which I think is possible this season, then that team goes from, kind of an underwhelming play-in type of team to, okay, like that's a serious squad with those 3 guys, McDaniels. The way he's played, the confidence he has, just some of the shots he's making too. Like if he becomes a better shot maker, there's not going to be much anyone can do with him. So I've loved the way that he's played. And then Reeves too. I just think he's building on a breakout season with LA. And for them, like as LeBron continues to kind of have his responsibilities dwindle a little bit, like we saw last year where he wasn't always the focal point of the offense, they're going to need more out of Reeves, and I think he's going to be capable of
that. For me, it's been the leaps from Shea and Edwards.
Shea's a bad man.
I mean, Jay already touched on Edwards and all that, so there's not much more to say about that. But Shea has been freaking awesome for Team Canada, and this is one of those things. And when you look at it, like this is a Canadian team that doesn't have Jamal Murray, who was supposed to be the guy for them. And honestly, if he joins them for the Olympics, I'm just going to assume they qualify for the Olympics with their squad, with how they're going to do in this World Cup. But when he comes, this is still Shea's team. He's got to come in and figure out how to work in being the Team Canada led by Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, to me, that's really the thing. I think
I don't know if Murray will know how to play next to an MVP candidate.
I was about to say.
Well,
I don't think it's gonna be a problem for Murray, man. I think having Shea there is gonna make Murray's life even easier, right?
Sure, but not having the ball in his hands is very different than playing with a guy like Jokic who puts the ball in your hands, which is the massive difference with that. But I think that's projecting into next year's Canada team. But I think just watching Shea, I think you're just primed to watch him and Edwards have really phenomenal seasons kind of going forward.
I think Canada, in my eyes, right now, they're better than Team USA. And I say that because Shea's the best player in the tournament. He's going to control every possession. And as good as Edwards is, I don't really trust him to make the best decision on every play in the way that I trust Shea a little bit more. And then I just think the defensive pairing of Brooks and Dort next to Shea is just really, really tough.
This is monumental. We need the picture of Jay in his whole Team USA outfit making that comment. Like, that's the thing that's wild right there.
All right, man.
I'm crazy for it.
I've heard enough, good, man. I've heard enough, man. I've heard enough, man. Cut it out. Team USA is gonna bring home, what they need to do. You know what I mean? Like, as far as the leaks, I echo the sentiment of what Jay's talking about. Anthony Edwards, Austin Reeves. I mean, yes, Brandon Ingram's been struggling, but I don't think he'll take a whole hit going back into the league. Most of these guys are going to get better. They're going to be better teammates. From the Canada side, SGA going to continue.
Canada right now, by the way, up 4 against Brazil.
Okay, there you go.
Bruno Caboclo,
SGA is going to continue to take that leap. Him and Ant, but then they made Dylan Brooks likable again. Ultimate role player. You know what I mean?
Just
in that
Dylan
situation,
Brooks a week. Give him a week.
Yeah, he's gonna shoot himself in the foot for sure.
They also play better when he's not on the court most of the time, in my opinion. So
I mean, I get it, but like he does what he does, and you got to give him that. And then like most of those guys, but obviously the people that are talking about the most, SGA and Ant Edwards, they definitely need more TV games. So the world could see them a little bit more and display their talents, because they're going to be all-stars for many years in this league if health permits. But as far as the matchup, when these two teams, it looks like they're going to see each other unless Germany just skips a rock and changes this pattern. I got Team USA, man. I think they're going to make the adjustments enough to do what they need to do. Both teams are stacked. Both teams feel that they are ready, but again, I think that, the test that they finally seen in Montenegro and they will continue to see tests and make these adjustments. I think they'll come out with the gold.
I just don't think Canada's got the bigs to compete. I mean, Jaren Jackson and what he does defensively is just Canada can't match it on there. Yeah. Go ahead, Mo.
I mean, Canada's only seven guys deep. If we're really looking at that's really what holds them back.
And, tire them out.
Right. And we'll see what they are when they get Murray back, when they get Andrew Wiggins.
Don't Alexander Walker, Scrub, and Edgem come off the bench? Those guys are all okay.
Yeah, but
so 7.
That's 8. That's
7
8
guys.
Oh, Dylan Brooks doesn't count.
Okay, we're done. Super fan Dylan Brooks over there, I'm done with. But I wanted to touch on the Ingram thing, because I think Trey said the thing that's really important. Just because he struggled in FIBA basketball and finding a role with Team USA I'm not worried about him with New Orleans, right, going forward with that stuff. I think some people are going to try to make that leap and jump to those kind of conclusions. Like, Trey's right on with that stuff. The one concern I have with Team USA is slow starts. Montenegro.
I want to go back and touch on the Ingram thing a little bit, because I disagree, and this is where I disagree. So Ingram, we know he can be very good when he has the ball in his hands and when it's his show. But we also know he's not good enough when the ball is in his hands and it's his show. And like, he's not going to be the best player on a title team. So I think at some point, no, to win a title, What has he shown?
Well, no,
What have they shown?
well, I don't know about title. I ain't gonna go that far, but I will say he came in with the idea, looking around at this roster, thinking that he was going to have the Ant Edwards role, and reality hit. Most of the guys that normally play in FIBA play that come from the NBA and they get their first experience get a rude awakening. It's more physical. It throws them off. You know what I mean? A couple times down the floor, they're like, what is this basketball? You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen this in my life. They forget how to play. It's almost like you haven't rode the bike in 20 years and you're like, what is this? You know what I mean? So in this particular
incredibly
situation,
accurate.
It's true. You know what I mean? I'm talking to some of the guys that have been watching from the outside and they're just like, look, BI will be fine. The same way people were talking about Dame, even though Dame was battling an injury privately, but he struggled. It wasn't just like a flip of the switch. It is a different style of game. And, you know, I like the comment that Brandon Ingram said, which probably he didn't mean, but he said, it's frustrating to be struggling with my individual success, but we are rolling. You know what I mean? So this is only going to motivate him to either improve and try to adapt and learn the game. This is going to make him a better basketball player in IQ wise, because now he's going to see how much he can work with in the NBA. It's more space. It's more offensive advantage. It's a different style of game that's going to, you know, the things that he didn't see the things he saw in international play that kind of hurts him right now in the current mode.
Well, that's why when I mentioned Josh Hart taking his starting spot, I think it's more about rhythm for Brandon Ingram.
Sure,
Again, it's a completely different role, as Trey just pointed out, totally different style of play. And I want to know what his practices look like, because I guarantee he's a dog in practice. Like, that's where he's going to be getting better. And I would say that about most guys coming off their national team experience. The improvements, you don't see it necessarily on the court. Now, with Anthony Edwards, you do, because he's the guy. But I bet he is getting better in practice every day. And these are good reps for Brandon Ingram against the best guys in the world.
But leave it to analytics. Austin Rivers. I mean, Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is guaranteed to be an all-star. If you played it off of that.
Well, that's going to be the Laker fan hype. But yeah.
If you played it off of international play and you looked at it and said, okay, when we get back to the season, this is what's going to happen.
He's a good player. He's a good player, but bench depth is not. It's not like
this is his strength. World, this reminds him of college.
Yeah, this is his strength. He's having a good summer. But I do want to swing back to the thing Jay was mentioning with talking about the Timberwolves, because if you look at Anthony Edwards' partners in crime in Minnesota and what they've been doing in the World Cup, Karl Anthony Towns has been hooping, and Rudy Gobert got sent home. And I wonder if there's any carryover for those guys when you go back and get to training camp. I mean, you know, Mo, you've got national team experience. You know, you were a coach on the Australian national team. I don't even know how long ago. Was it 10 years ago? Was that about when it was?
I was 2010 to 2012. I was there for the Turkey World Cup and the London Olympics.
There you go. So, you know how grinding the schedule is and how hard the practices are every day. You know, I wonder, are we seeing like a little bit of a flip of the switch for Karl Anthony Towns even during this summer? You know, he's been the guy for that team and has shown up again and again for them. And maybe, you know, you're looking at Anthony Edwards. I wonder if Karl Anthony Towns got a little side eye on Anthony Edwards and he's starting to think, oh man, let me turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he has so much as just like side eye or I mean, he's just balling, like plain and simple. Like they're playing through him. There's with the Dominican Republic, there's nobody else for them to really kind of run a lot of stuff through. And I think he's, as you said, been insane. They lost to Puerto Rico, but he had 39 and 10. I mean, like, he was pretty impressive in his efforts and the way he's been playing throughout all of this stuff. It's just, as much as listen, he drives me nuts. He's corny as hell, all of that stuff. But like, he can play. You know, and there's I don't know how much of it is winning basketball, but he's still a good basketball player, right? Like there's a whole bunch of stuff with that. Like we go running through and say, oh, he sucks or whatever. Like the dude's can get you 20 and 10 regularly. And I think that's an important piece in all of that stuff. I think, what you watch, what I'm more worried about if I'm Minnesota is Gobert's play. Because he usually shines in FIBA stuff. Like in general, like when he's with the national team, he looks really good. He did not look good with France this year.
He looked even have awful. A real defensive impact. Like he was not,
and he can camp in the paint
on that end.
And he looked awful.
He was a non-factor for them in the areas where we expect him to be. And I think that's more concerning if you're the Wolves. And the one thing you could say is, well, at least he's going to get some rest because he's out, and that stuff. Like I think they're going to take it easy with Edwards and with Cat in training camp and whatnot, have to come in and things like that, knowing that they played Team USA and Dominican Republic. But with Gobert, you got to watch for that because that's the one I saw where I was like, oh, that's actually scary.
Yeah. Like Canada against them. Canada was just getting to the rack time after time. And you remember the last World Cup, France beat USA partly because just nobody could score on Gobert.
Yeah,
he totally wiped away the rim. They could do nothing, and it's a different France team. That a lot of those guys are in different phases of their career now. Nando De Colo is older.
Well, he got injured, so
yeah, Fournier's older. Like he's still talented, especially for that level. But it's the Gobert piece. First of all, I don't think it was the right fit for them to begin with. And if he does start to fall off, which he could because he's in his 30s now and he's a 7'2" guy, and big guys like that don't always age well, rarely age well. It could be pretty bad. And what bothers me about it too is Towns and Edwards offensively could be such a good fit if they had space everywhere.
Right.
Else.
That's the three of them just together is a problem.
Yeah, and I don't
Towns doesn't play.
I don't want to rehash the Gobert trade much because
the
Edwards and Towns pieces, Timberwolves fans should be happy about it, but
it's not great. So just to kind of wrap this up, the guys that we really expect that are taking the national team leap coming into next year, it's Anthony Edwards and it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was all NBA this past year. Are we thinking
First
like
team.
Shai? Is Shai going to be, what does he got to do? I mean, they got to be in the playoffs for him to be an MVP.
They got to be a top 3 seed for them to be for him to be in the MVP conversation. Like, I don't want to have the MVP conversation in September 1st, but like
what's up for him? You know what I mean? From an all NBA first team, how high does he have to go? Like, are we overstating this leap, or is this just Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just one of the 8 best players in the world, and this is what we ought to expect from him every single season now? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with Shai. But Anthony Edwards, on the other hand, I think Anthony Edwards he should make all NBA this year, right?
Is he really the 8th best player?
I mean, he's up
to the
there.
Tournament.
I mean, he's up
according
there.
to the tournament, right?
I mean, he was all NBA, right? I mean, he's somewhere in that 8 to 12 range, I guess. He's very good. Whatever the tier 1A or 1B, I'm not sure exactly.
I was going to say closer. I was going to say closer to 18, 25, maybe 15. Y'all got that many people over?
I don't know. I haven't done any rankings. I haven't done any rankings yet. We'll have to just rely on Seth Partnow for the tiers. Go read those.
Bruno
tiers.
Caboclo is giving Team Canada.
Yes, go read those.
All right.
By the way, your boy Dylan Brooks, 4 fouls, no points, 0 for 3.
Bruiser.
Perfect.
But good.
You guys have been calling for him to stop shooting forever. Then he finally shoots just 3 shots in a game, and people are on him. What's he got to do?
You've been wrapping him up and raising him above the rafters and everything. You finally been screaming. The dude's had no impact except a -1 for Canada.
I can't wait. Okay. I can't wait until he gets traded to the Celtics so that Jay can finally cover Dylan Brooks. Moving on, there's a little bit of news, and on this one, we've got a social media expert in the house, Mr. Trevon Edwards. Need you to break down this entire Eric Lewis situation. In case you're just catching up, NBA referee Eric Lewis retired this past week after officiating for 19 seasons. And this comes on the heels of an investigation by the NBA into an alleged burner account on Twitter, the handle @CutliffeBlair, that gained notoriety due to posts from the account that were commenting on Lewis and the games he officiated, mostly defending Eric Lewis from the haters out in the Twitter sphere. Trey, this is a odd situation, to say the least. Yeah. This is not the first burner situation for the NBA. Of course, we all remember the numerous instances of other burner accounts throughout the NBA, whether it be players or front office people or their wives or whoever. But this one with referees, this touches an interesting sort of subject, because refereeing and, of course, the history with the NBA and the Tim Donaghy scandal and all of that stuff. So, Trey, break it down for me. What exactly is the problem, first of all, with a referee defending himself on Twitter?
Laker Nation is better than cheaters. You know what I mean? Like, their investigation skills are by far top tier. If you're looking for anybody, go hire Laker Nation. The way they were able to out this account and dig deep was amazing, elite investigation skills. Secondly, I get it. No one wants to get talked about. You want to defend yourself. You're going to do what you do. That's why the burner account is what it's supposed to do, right? But you know what I mean? That family photo did not help. The internet is forever. So when you upload things, whether you're trolling or not, it comes back to bite you. And in this case, it made it look like he was being a homer. And, you know, you're supposed to approach this game non-biased and be respectful. It didn't help. It didn't help in his situation. But now he gets to do what he always wanted to do. He's not the only person to quit and go back to X, formerly known as Twitter, just to tweet. Magic Johnson also quit so he could tweet. So it is a thing. You rather have your free speech than do your job. And at this time, I mean, 19 seasons is a very long time. He probably felt like it wasn't worth it. But then also, he has a stain on his record at this point. You know what I mean? Like, every player, every time they see, if he would have been showing up still working, they would have been kind of like, is the game fair? You know what I mean? And I think that was a bigger issue for the league. So, you know, he probably decided they probably mutually shook hands, and he decided, instead of you embarrassing me, I'm going to step away from the game.
Well, so Jay, he's a Celtics fan, right? That's the allegation, is that he favored the Celtics. How come you didn't break this news, Jay?
I wasn't following Blair Cutliff on Twitter, unfortunately.
And why not, Jay?
But honestly, like, we can laugh about this, but it's honestly just all too bad to me, because what he said on Twitter, every tweet I saw, at least, there was nothing that really crossed the line, nothing that incriminated him, nothing that he showed he was biased or anything like that. It was mostly him defending the referees, him defending himself. And once, I think he laughed at somebody's claim that Dennis Schroeder was butt juice, which was
pretty
my
funny.
favorite
Like,
tweet. Right.
Okay. You gotta just go like, wow, okay.
But like, and so it's sad that somebody lost his job over this. When it was stupid, yes, it was. You can't be doing that if you're a ref, and the league has to give off the impression that it's totally impartial, and you can't have someone on social media sparring with fans, and that's the issue here. But I do find it sad that a guy who is really good at his job, has been given finals jobs several times, now lost it because he was defending his own honor against strangers on Twitter. Like, it's crazy to think about.
he could have easily just texted Keith Parrish and he would have gladly defended any and all referees for him. So, I
mean, no, it's the whole thing is just one, it's stupid. What he did was stupid. The fans have driven refs so wildly nuts that they actually are going to Twitter to defend themselves is kind of comical to me in that sense. But like the whole situation is just dumb. And now like the NBA's, they're going to stop the investigation because he's retiring and all of that stuff. And now everybody's going to talk about, well, what did they have? What, why aren't they releasing the investigation and all that bullshit that comes with it? And the NBA's rigged and all the stuff that comes it's all dumb. It's all fucking stupid.
There was never much need for an investigation.
No, there was nothing in the
people
tweets.
On Twitter already did the investigation, and
right. But there was,
shout out to Laker Nation.
I mean, there's genuinely nothing on the tweets, but the NBA's got to get ready for all these types of things because if we're gonna make gambling a thing, you're gonna have to deal with these types of situations. Are the refs biased? Are they not biased? Everybody's gonna have that stuff. They have to prepare themselves for these types of situations, and this is very innocent in everything that's happening, but it's like you could see it leading down to a dark road.
It's going to lead to a dark road, and it's probably going to be podcasting for Eric Lewis. That's probably where this is leading, right? He's going to have his own Twitter account soon. He's going to tweet out referee stuff during games. I don't know. I hope he finds a way to stay around the game because he's been around for a long time. Maybe we need to, as a society, come up with an age. Maybe it's 50. If you're above 50, you get a pass on the internet for at least one sort of innocent gaffe. I don't know what we have to do, but you're right, Mo. It was stupid. It was silly. And it's a shame because he had a great record. I mean, the last game that he refereed was game 1 of this year's Western Conference Finals. And they don't just give that to anybody. You have to have a good track record, and they check these referees. This is something the NBA, I think they've got the best basketball referees in the world. And it's because the education is high. They're constantly training. They're watching film. I mean, there's a lot that goes into being an NBA referee. So it's a shame to lose a good one.
The NBA should actually everybody's doing these documentaries. They should actually do a documentary into what it takes to be a ref, or a docuseries or something like that, just so like people can see it. The work that these guys go to and ladies, the work that they all do to kind of try to get better. And then for everybody else that screams about calls, I scream about calls all the time, but I also understand it's a hard fucking job at the end of the day. And that's the truth of the matter is none of us want to be that person. Like I don't want to go into Boston Garden and have everybody screaming at me.
I don't want to ref practice. You've ref practice, right? I don't want to ref practice.
You've not lived till you called a foul on Tim Duncan, and Tim just looks at Pop, and Pop looks at you and goes, "That's not a foul." You've not lived until you've experienced that.
Until you've caught the bird from a 15-year-old girls basketball player, you have not experienced coaching basketball. I'll tell you that there's never been a foul called in practice that was actually a foul. So I don't want to be a referee. I do not begrudge these guys for wanting to defend themselves at all, but do that at home. You can't do it on Twitter. You guys got anything else before we go? I mean, it's early September, so it's not like there's much happening. We've got no traction on a Damian Lillard trade, hearing nothing about James Harden. Training camp is still a couple of weeks away. I think everybody's eyes are focused on the World Cup and who's going to, make it to the top 8 and who's going to win the championship here in the next 10 days or so. You guys got anything?
Canada's down 2 with 45 seconds left, by the way.
Wow.
No. Oh, yeah.
This is going to be Jay King fault.
Canada's down 2. The Jay King curse has struck again. Dylan Brooks just got
also known as
the
Dylan Brooks. Exactly. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show, folks. Thank you guys for listening. For Trevon Edwards, Jay King, Mo DeKeel, and Zach Harper, who's somewhere on a plane heading out on vacation, I'm Dave DeFore, and this has been the Basket Buds on the Athletic NBA Show.